everybody!
Hey!
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Maggie.
We're from Rock Candy Podcast. Kind of like behind the music.
Except unauthorized and drunk. But come along every week and listen to us talk about artists or albums that you may know really well or may have never heard of while we're drinking beers.
Witty things to talk about.
Great hot takes with some hot babes.
That's subjective, but okay. So go find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and wherever you catch your pods.
And with that,
Party on, kids!
Well, that sounded forced.
Is it not?
Hey there, this is John from Pint Comics.
And I'm Lloyd, also from Pint Comics.
And I'm the other John, and you get it by now. As you may know, we sometimes use language on this show that can be described as
Filthy.
Okay,
reprehensible,
Crude.
sure.
nasty.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, guys. We all know that it's just plain out gutter talk.
You've been warned. Listen in.
Welcome back to Pint Comics. And if this is your... Yeah, John loves that. If this is your first time, then thanks for checking us out, you know? Yeah. My name is Lloyd, also known as the Manster, here at Studio 215.
That's right.
Yep, and I'm here along with John, the two Johns, Sir John and Johnny Ganache.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Yeah, and special guest, Mark Masztal today. How you doing, Mark?
Good, Masztal.
What did I say?
Masztal.
You know, I've got to admit, I say it that way too.
That's just what I've heard.
I know.
I always say Mark Masztal.
I
Is
know.
that totally wrong?
It's totally wrong. Think pastel, but with an M.
Pastel.
Well,
Masztal.
you know what screws it up though is you get that fucking Z in
I
there.
got the fucking Z in the middle of it.
Do me a favor, get
All
rid
right,
of the
so-
Z and then come back and talk to me. Okay.
What's the origin of
That's
that?
my Polish heritage, man.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know Polish put Z's and S's together. I thought they just did one or the other.
And no I's or Y's
Really?
or I's.
Right,
Right. No,
No skis,
My
no-
grandparents were right from the old country.
Yeah.
Sad thing is that they both lived in the same little teeny tiny town, and they both had the same last name.
Oh boy. Okay, we're digging a little harder than I wanted to so far.
Hello.
We are Pint Comics, and every now and then we actually talk about... What do we talk about, John?
We talk about beer.
Beer, yep.
We've had a beer episode. We talk about movies,
yep.
horror stuff, which we're not a horror podcast, but we come back to that a lot.
Wrestling.
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 You know what's funny? I wanted
We never get away from
I
wrestling.
wanted to bring this up because it was just kind of funny. So the last episode that was released from this recording was one where John was sick and me and Lloyd, and we talked for about 10 minutes about Mean Gene Okerlund passing away. The funny part is the week before when me and John recorded with Lou and Mike Fulham, we talked about Mean Gene Okerlund passing away. So we didn't.
We just cannot get away from wrestling.
We couldn't
no
let
matter
Mean
what we
Gene
do.
Okerlund rest.
Well, when they all look like Becky Lynch,
Oh, well, hey, you know. Well,
She
it's-
is. I don't know wrestling, but I know that Becky Lynch is blowing up like the internet.
I know.
She is.
John loves the fabulous
is.
moolah still.
well, I love the fact that when she got popped in the face and she's bleeding all over the place, she sold it. She was just like, look at me, I'm bleeding, I'm really bleeding, I'm just going to sell it, and that just put her over.
Are you a wrestling guy, Mark? Are you into wrestling?
I am.
I honestly want to have a couple wrestling guys down and do a wrestling centric show and like have maybe me and John just be able to talk about Hillbilly Jim.
Oh, my God.
Because
Billy Jim. Jeez.
it seems like again we did the Nintendo show.
John Stud.
We did a Nintendo show with Lou and Mike. That was
Haystacks Calhoun.
Yeah, there you go.
Junkyard Dog.
I'm old.
You know what I mean?
George the
Well,
Animal Steel.
A little out of our wheelhouse.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Matty Ryan, he's a huge wrestling guy, too.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Jack Purcell.
Yeah.
Jack just went to he just went to NXT, which I think is the hottest of the three shows that they have on TV, and those guys just kill it. They know that they all want to get over, and these guys are just working as hard as they can. Ricochet and Johnny, all these guys, Johnny Wrestling, these guys just push it as hard as they can, and they're awesome.
Man, you are totally speaking Portuguese to me right now, but I dig it because
Not bad
I like passion. I
Yeah,
like
not
when people
bad for
are
a
passionate.
Pollock, huh?
All right. So, and by the way, I will never say it wrong again. It's Masztal, not Masztal.
Masztal.
And actually, Mark, before we get into the meat of the show, I wanted to bring up the fact
Meat of the show.
that Mark brought down a couple of issues for me and John to peruse. Nomad. It's a heroic character he created. It is pretty badass. It's in a very unique format for a comic. It's about half the height, half the height of a 2/4 of a regular comic, and put out by Mark himself. It's Not Dog Comics. That's your production line. That's what you have.
Yeah.
And this is very cool. And if you check out our YouTube page, Pint of Comics on YouTube, we are going to, after I get to read these, we're going to be doing a review of issue 1 and 2. And if you want to check that out. And Mark, where can people get this if they want to start looking into it?
They can contact me through Facebook, and then they can go to my website, www.masztal.com / I am Nomad.
I am Nomad.
One word.
Okay.
We should probably bring something up real quick since Mark is here and our special guest. He does have some pedigree when it comes to comic books.
Well, I like how you use the word pedigree, and the fact that Mark is known for drawing some things that have pedigree as well, right?
It was kind of out there. So should we bring that up, Mark, or do you want to lay that low?
No, that's fine.
Yeah, all right.
No, my original claim to fame was when I got into comics. I worked for Caliber Press, and Tom Snagowski and I did a book called Swords of Sharpay. And then we did Guns of Sharpay, and then later on through Crusade, we did Dogs of War. And I'm currently taking all 3 miniseries plus all the extra material that we did and putting it into one big book. And there's probably going to be a softcover and a hardcover edition, probably May. I want to try to get it ready. I want to try to get it ready for some of the shows.
Nice, very nice.
All right.
So the Sharpay series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen any of this stuff. Is there any way maybe a certain guy can hook me up with some PDFs or some books or something?
Yeah, I can send you a PDF.
All right. I'll take that.
I might have some of the originals somewhere.
Yeah, I figured. Well, you were a big Caliber Press fan guy too.
Yeah, Caliber was fun. The great guys to work with.
Gary Reed was something else.
Gary Reed. Oh, man. Gary Reed was great. Guy Davis was a real terrific guy.
Yeah, he was.
Is, yeah. He doesn't do comics anymore. He's doing movie stuff.
Yeah, fancy guy.
Yeah.
For one of my favorite movies, he did, right? Didn't he do the stuff for Pacific Rim?
He did.
Yeah.
He did Pacific Rim Job. He did.
Did you not like that as well?
I like that movie.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do.
All right.
The second one
2 was better.
The second one was such a waste of time.
We know Steve Bissett loves Pacific Rim.
He liked it. He actually said he liked it.
I know
remember
he
that.
did. I say it with so much sarcasm because he actually loves this movie.
I want to bring this up on the air real quick.
I am not a fan.
Lindsay and I just finished the last season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix, and in the second because it was broken up in 2 halves, so the second episode of the second half of the 4th season, there is a Speed 2 joke in it that I just thought John's got to check this out.
Maybe.
All right, Lloyd, what are we here for?
Well, let's go on with a little more with Mark, because we know he's a comic book artist.
Yep.
What else do you do? I know that you are co-creator of BingCon. Do I have that right?
Yep. Co-creator of BingCon. Mike Dobbs and I put that fiasco together about 6 or 7 years ago, and initially we brought it together because we said, Springfield hasn't had a comic book show in like 15 years.
Right.
So I was like, we need something. Plus, we're tired of driving all the way to Boston, New York, the whole thing. And then our friend Brian Hale also runs the Bing Art Center. Mm-hmm. We're like, this would be a great fundraiser for the Bing. He's always kind of looking for as much cash as he can because he's a nonprofit. They want to finish redoing the entire building so they can actually start showing movies there again. So we said, hey, Brian, how about we do a show? And our first year we did the show at the Bing. We squeezed in about 27 tables. We should have maybe done about 22. It was a little tight. And then the following year we moved it down the street to the Trinity Methodist Church. And we're coming up, this is year 7 now.
Right, and it's still at the Trinity Methodist Church, yeah. See, this was my first year. Well, last year, 2018, was my first year.
Okay.
That was great. It was my favorite, small show that's
awesome.
around.
That's what I call the best one-day show in New England.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you.
It's what I wish to call at
that.
some point the best 2-day show in New England, but that's just me pushing Mark a little bit hard.
I'm okay with it being a one-day show, really. I mean, if you do 2 days, that'd be great, but
we're kind of stuck, though, because we're in the church.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You can't do Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday would be a little difficult, yeah.
That'd be kind of a weird mix. So you got the old Sunday morning church crowd coming in, and then you see all the cosplayers, and you see the Batmobile pull up.
Yeah, right.
And you, I didn't think about it till this year because this year was our 4th year I think going, or at least third.
Third at least.
Third. We went as fans originally.
Yeah.
Then we got so third. We got a table.
2 years as
2 years as dealers table recording there. And what I never really put together before was, and I know you're in a rush at the end of the day to break down, is because they have mass and stuff at night, right?
They have mass sometimes. Oh, see, this past year, we were out. We had to be out by 6 because by 7 o'clock they were going to have a wake.
Okay,
Wow, they're having an Italian wake, and it was going.
An Italian wake, no less.
And they had it scheduled from like 7 p.m. to like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You imagine someone's rolling in there during the wake and they find like an action figure on the floor.
Right? Yeah.
Who is this? Is it a Dr. Fate? Oh, he is he got the helm of Anubis.
No, and it being in a church, we've got to be really careful at being in a church because some people have they have some more risque material. And there are times where I've had to like kind of walk through and kind of like be the the fun police and say you got to put that away, man.
Yeah.
Plus we got little kids roaming around too.
Yeah.
We're very family friendly.
Yeah. Oh no. Your show is awesome. And,
My daughter Sophie loved it.
Yeah, it's such a good time. It
It
really is.
It's real laid back, and the people that are there are great, and the repeat vendors that you have.
Yeah.
It's fantastic to see them. I mean, when we miss out on someone, say like the girl that does the teas, she wasn't able to show this year.
Her last name's Moy. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And
She had to pass this year. She had to cancel.
What were you saying? It was something to do with her regular job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She was. She works. You're gonna make me think.
Yeah, I know. We're thinking here. Oh God, we're thinking and drinking.
No, she works for like the weather department or something. It's something with mass, Connecticut hazard and stuff. And because they had this big hurricane coming through, everybody had to get pulled off whatever they're doing into the offices.
Yeah, I like to buy a tin of her tea. She does teas.
And she does great little drawings. And
Yeah,
such.
she does little drawings. She does teas that are pop culture derived. Like she'll have like 5 different Doctor Who flavors and supernatural, and they're all good. And
and it's different. It's something you don't normally see at a show like that. And that's great stuff. Yeah. So
I mean, we always try to get different people coming in.
Yeah,
we've got a lot of people that like Gary Smith's been with us since like year 1.
Right.
And we had him jammed into a corner over at the Bing Theater. But Gary's like, I'll come. He has a great time. He hangs out with his buddy Brett Swanson, and afterwards they go out to dinner and they have beer and they get hammered. But then I try to swap it up. Like this past year, I had Andy and Veronica Fish. And then, who knew that they're just over in Worcester? And then who knew that Andy was one of my students when I was teaching at the Words and Pictures Museum. And I'm like, dude, how old were you at the time?
The late lamented Words and Pictures Museum.
I mean, he goes like, well, I was like 19. I'm like, oh, Christ.
How the hell did I never run into you there?
I was all over the place, man. I was all over the floors. I was downstairs in the offices. Matt Smith, who we mentioned before from Barbarian Lord, he also dealt with them. He worked with them, and he also worked with Steve Murphy when Steve was doing VMAG way back when.
Oh, good old VMAG. Yeah,
I love VMAG.
I don't know.
Let me tell you something. I mean, this is for
let me tell you something.
you guys, and every listener that's out there. The Words and Pictures Museum in Northampton, Mass, was a mecca of everything when it came to comic books, and those that never got to see it or never heard about it, that's a story for another night on the podcast. Really.
All right. Well,
it's
the next time we have Mark down, we'll talk about that.
Oh yeah. We could talk about it all night.
That's actually
Yeah, I still have my membership card. Yeah, it's probably in my wallet.
Probably been revoked.
Did you ever see the bathrooms downstairs in the office?
No.
They had men's room, ladies' room downstairs, and every visiting artist who came in to the museum went down and sketched on the wall.
Oh,
so you could walk through.
Did anybody pose like Johnny Ganache over here?
I'm sure there was a
crapper pose.
I'm
crapper
sure.
pose. Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, crapper pose. No, but
not the first floor when you came in.
No, all the way downstairs. In the basement.
No, I never.
You go down there, you could sit there, you could assume the position, and you got Bodie original and James O'Barr and Bissett and all these guest artists who came through. Who had stuff at the show and who was just in the area. And it was just amazing just to be able to check out and see what they had on the wall. And
so
sketches.
many amazing things. That was a great place.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, Lloyd, get us back on track.
So back on track. So what we were saying before, every once in a while here at Pint of Comics, we talk about comics.
You did a great job getting back to that.
Did I?
Yeah, you really did.
Yeah, we're natural. And so that's what we're here today for. Part 3 of the
part 5.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're talking just heroes, part 3
Part 3, yes.
of the heroes. So we've done indie heroes.
with
me.
With
yeah,
you.
I did the Indie Heroes.
Did Indie Heroes with you
We did Marvel Heroes.
with Jerry Morgan.
Morgan.
From Fistful of Jokes.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And now we're doing the DC Heroes
DC Heroes. Yeah,
with Mark Masztal.
that's right. You guys ready to do this?
Yeah. All right. Bring it on.
All right.
All right. So, what are the rules, Lloyd, in terms of it's top 5, but
It's top 5. The first 5 can be in any order, but your last one, your number 1, should be
number one should be your number 1.
I'm going to throw up my rule real quick.
Oh,
right.
you got number 6 in there.
No, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
And whenever Lloyd's around, we both always have the others,
Yeah.
But for me, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, basically the big trinity is not on my list.
Oh, well, that's
Right.
not a
That's
rule.
okay.
That's a
No,
personal
that's-
choice.
No, it's not a personal choice because with all the major characters, it would just supersede everything.
And I do want to point out
I'm
that
talking about my favorites here.
that this is something that we talked about in the Marvel one, and I want to bring it up for the DC one as well, is that Vertigo is in fair play. 'Cause
Yeah,
Vertigo is
that's
part
fine.
of DC.
DC
so,
and Vertigo.
But I also realize that those characters appeared in DC Universe before Vertigo.
But even if they didn't, if it was strictly a Vertigo book and that never touched the DC universe, it's under the DC umbrella.
We're getting real nerdy here.
Well, I want to make sure because there
you
are
wanna
people
get
that
real
listen to
nerdy?
our show
Yeah.
that are going to go, you can't say that, that's Vertigo. And we're saying right now that you can say that.
They're in play.
I'm going to get real nerdy on top of that again.
All right.
With what we did with Marvel, no characters that were absorbed by DC.
Like Charlton.
Charlton characters, the quality characters,
Millennium.
Fawcett.
You're making me very angry.
For me.
Oh, for you. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
for me, I'm not.
I'm
because,
good too.
because it happened the last time. So, I mean, the Charlton characters, yes, I love them greatly, but they are not DC characters. They are now,
Right.
Yeah.
but not originally.
Okay,
And,
so
and
these aren't technically-
so many of the quality characters are great characters, but they were not
So
originally.
these are less rules and more of John's caveats. For
Yeah.
this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's
which
fine.
which is what I did the last time.
That's great.
Again,
Okay.
like the independent characters. Like
Get 'em-
Oh,
get
you
us on-
had a great independent list.
Yeah, he did. Me and you were just
Man,
all
man.
image.
That was it all.
half of myself was from Caliber.
Yeah.
And after we're done here, we're going to read some listener.
Some of our friends,
Top
yeah, we had a
fives.
couple top 5s too.
Yep.
You have friends?
One or two. When my mom gets the checkout in time.
all my friends are at the liquor store. So.
That sounds like a country music song.
All my friends are at the liquor store.
Hitting up the 5-beer sampler.
Yeah, and then some. So I'm the host. I'm not going to actually have a list today. You might get a quick list at the end.
You could read yours off at the end.
come
But
on.
yeah, I'm
We
not,
just
I'm
wanna
not going to go
elaborate.
along with these guys. So
We want a quickie from Lloyd at the end.
we'll do a
Oh, yeah.
quickie.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah,
Look at this fucking guy.
I've heard.
I am not touching that one.
Look at this guy.
All right, so you know what? I'm going to start with Johnny Ganache.
It's so awesome to
Yeah,
be called out
yeah.
on one of these things.
That's right.
While he's drinking.
Well, I'm drinking. All right, so I'm going to start with, again, not necessarily my number 5, but this is a character who's been around for, he's a newer DC character in terms of, like, compared to, like, stuff from the 40s and 50s, but he's been around for about 35 years or so. I was not aware of this character very much in his original incarnation, but around the time that they produced in the mid-2000s, 52 and all that stuff, he kind of came to the forefront again. Booster Gold. Yeah, I know he's very popular from the Keith Giffen, DeMatteis Justice League, and I honestly haven't read a ton of that stuff, but I loved his role in 52, and he had a series that lasted probably 50 or 45 issues after 52 that was written by Dan Jurgens at one point and written by
Who's the
Keith
creator.
Giffen, who is the creator. And if you don't know Booster Gold, Booster Gold is a character from the future who basically was kind of like a ex-athlete who was a loser. And he stole all of his powers from, what was it, the superhero museum. He stole a Legion flight ring, and he stole an energy force field belt, and he made himself into this hero.
So he's a hero, but he stole all these things.
He's one of these heroes that
See, I'm not that familiar with Booster Gold.
he kind of ends up in ways redeeming himself, but he's kind of considered, and I'm going to ask you guys because you know more in terms of the older history, he's kind of considered a joke amongst everybody else.
Well,
Yeah,
he was.
absolutely.
The original series that Jurgens wrote and created there was him coming back into the 20th century basically to make money while he's a superhero.
Right.
That was the whole gist of it. Now, I don't know where you want to go with it from there because I was never a fan of it then.
Right.
He became the joke in the Justice League.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of an also-ran character. Here's this Z-list character that they slapped into the Justice League.
It was a point in the Justice League's history where the Justice League itself was made up of characters that weren't. It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't the Trinity. It was Guy Gardner. It was
Batman was there.
Blue Beetle.
but Batman. But Blue Beetle, Fire, Ice.
It was an international list of characters. They were trying something different. It was a lot of people didn't like it. I loved it.
Max Lord. He was
Max
in it?
Lord was the impetus of the group at that point. But Booster and Beetle became this weird pairing that you never saw coming.
No, I mean they were the John and John of the
Yeah,
Justice
there you
League.
go. Yeah. The deft and daft, as it were.
I'll take either.
And then it was a great time. I loved that series. I loved the Justice League International. I loved what they did with it when they did the Justice League Europe. I loved that series. It was good stuff.
And they had great artwork by Kevin Maguire.
Yeah.
I mean, he really solidified his style, and he had that really light, open, clean style that fit the characters.
What did they call that period though? What was it? Bwahaha.
Yeah, the
right?
Bwahaha.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
DeMatteis and Giffen just made the comedy, but they were able to do things beyond the comedy too. There was so much drama going on that everyone forgets about the real serious Justice League stuff because there was so much comedy going on at the same time.
You'd almost think this was John's choice.
Well, no, I knew.
loving this pick?
See, again, I picked this pick based on.
I was right in the middle of it. So.
I picked this pick. My pick was based more on the later stuff that I read of him, and again,
they have done really, really cool things with the
52,
character.
which was a really important series, at one point in DC's history, really is circles around Booster Gold actually becoming the hero that he's supposed to be. And then you find all these things out. He's Rip Hunter's father, and there's all these kind of crazy time travel things.
I wasn't too fond of that myself.
Well, and the other thing I always liked was he has his little robotic companion Skeets.
Skeets.
And it's just he's a cool looking character.
They did a real good job with him in the animated series.
Yes, they
too,
did.
so.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
So my number 5 is Booster Gold.
I'll have to check out some of his stuff.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
All right, so moving on, we got Mark. We'll go with you next.
Okay, I'm going to go through 1 through 5, and I'll start with number 5 as my number 5. And because I'm old, 1962, The Metal Men.
Oh,
wow. There you go.
I love The Metal Men. 1962, created by Robert Kanigher and Ross Andrew. Anybody who doesn't know the characters, Dr. William Magnus created these metallic robots who based off of 6 of the different elements. They all had their own what they called responsometers.
Responsometer.
Basically, it was their head. Use your head. I pop it off, and you switch around the responsometers. But for other team, we had gold, iron, lead, mercury, tin, and platinum, who was called Tina because she thought she was a real woman and she had the hots for Will Magnus. And she was kind of hot.
I've read little bits and pieces of Metal Men stuff, but I've always liked the idea behind them and the characters.
Yeah, I mean, there was a great characters. They went a little goofy for a while there because they took Will Magnus's character and kind of made him go a little insane.
Right, he was a mad scientist-y type thing for a while, right?
Yeah, so all of a sudden now he's the bad guy. He's the villain. He's the one that they're trying to go up against.
Bad idea.
Did Tin take a lot of razzing because, he's only 10?
He did. He did. But you know what? I'd say 8 times out of 10, he's the one that saved the day for everybody. Gold had been melted. He's down. Lead's been blasted. Platinum, she's melting, saying, Will, I love you. Mercury was kind of like the snarky guy, tall, skinny.
Was he the one with the big nose? One of them had a big nose, right?
That was Tin.
Tin, okay.
Tin, he was a short little guy with a little pointy nose.
Pointy nose, yeah.
And he's the one, like I said, 8 times out of 10, he's the one that saved the day.
Pointy nose.
Big nose.
There was one episode where they were being attacked by one of the villains who's on my list. And to stop him, they had to coat him with something. And Tin was shot up into the air. He was heated up. And Tin exploded, and he made all these metal particles come down, cover up over that villain. And all of a sudden now, he's dead. The character's down. And here's Tin saving the day. And I just love the Metal Men. They were really well drawn. Later on, there was a book called The Wednesday Funnies that came out. It was a newspaper that came out through DC. And
that was, a few years ago?
Yeah,
right?
a few years ago.
I have all those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was set up like a newspaper. And they had, I don't remember who wrote it.
Wednesday Comics.
Wednesday Comics, that's
right,
it. That's it. But they had Jose Garcia Lopez. Whoops, hang on. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. He drew it. Kevin Nolan inked it. And it was the best that the Metal Men have ever looked.
I got to be honest. I have all those issues. I've never read any of that stuff.
Oh, you got
The
Yeah, you gotta
Wednesday
get on
comics. And as a matter of fact, I'd be afraid that I have them bagged and boarded. They're probably
Oh, that because it was on that newspaper.
newspaper print. Yeah.
But they did collect it as a big hardcover.
Oh, okay.
And it's a glorious book.
Because that book had like each newspaper had like 5 or 6 stories, and they continued week by week, right?
Oh, it was more than that. It was
Yeah.
more like 10 or 12.
Really?
I mean, you had Walt Simonson doing, I believe it was a Catman or Catwoman story.
Really?
You had Ryan Sook doing a fantastic Commandy style.
Ryan Sook
book.
is awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then jumping on the Commandy, when they did that Commandy series last year,
Yes.
all 12 issues, I said, "Oh, great! This would be great. Maybe they get someone like Ryan Sook to draw, the entire series." And I opened up the first issue and I saw Keith Giffen's artwork, and I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" And every book was different. A lot of them were hit or miss, and I just was like so disappointed.
Are you not a Keith Giffen penciler fan?
Not his new. I mean, ever since back when he was doing Legion of Superheroes with Larry Masztal,
Okay, yeah.
loved his work.
Yeah.
And then he was deciding, okay, what kind of artist am I going to be? Am I gonna rip off the style of some of the Manila artists and stuff like that? And then he got into Ambush Bug,
Oh, I love Ambush Bug.
but then he ended up going on.
Not on my heroes list.
When they launched their new 52, he ended up drawing OMAC. And the problem with that is you can tell
Dan Didio written.
Dan Didio, right? But you can tell as an artist, I'm looking at his artwork going, why does everything look skewed?
Yeah.
And he's not sitting at a drawing table, sitting at a flat table, and as you draw further away from you, things are skewing. And I'm looking at it going, God, this is horrible. He's trying to do Keith Giffen drawing like Jack Kirby. And I'm sorry.
That makes sense, yeah.
But people
With
like
a
Ron,
book like that.
Yeah, but people like Ron Wilson did a lot better because it looked more like an homage to Kirby as opposed to just Keith Giffen needing a new style of the week.
What you're hearing now is Pint Comics never getting Keith Giffen on the show.
That's not true. That's not true. I've told him he did one issue, the acronym Legion series, in the early '90s. It was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen on the printed page.
You didn't tell him that, did you?
Yes, I did, and he loved it.
Yeah.
He absolutely loved it because it was revolting to look at. It was an excellent read, but it was he did that one issue while the regular Barry Kitson, who would normally do it, didn't do that one issue, and I don't think it would have been the same if Barry had done it compared to Keith doing. I mean, just vomiting on the page.
And that is the sound of it solidifying that he'll never be on.
Oh, it was great. I like Keith's stuff. I mean, I haven't really looked at his stuff lately because he hasn't really done a lot of penciling.
No, he hasn't. And 2 years ago, he put together DC's like horror annual for the year. And what they did was they grabbed a whole bunch of different horror writers. Oh boy,
God, not like Lansdale.
no, they didn't get Lansdale, but they got like Brian Keene and Mary San Giovanni and a bunch of their friends who wrote the stuff. And then they had artists come in. And it was a great book. It actually made money. And they only did it the 1 year. And Keith, what he did was he kind of laid out the whole book for storylines. And he packaged the whole deal. And it was beautiful.
I honestly think Keith Giffen had a renaissance of his writing in the early 2000s. It was like a golden age of Keith Giffen. Everything he wrote was just wonderful. Just read his Doom Patrol.
But just don't let him draw anything. I mean,
I'm not saying he shouldn't.
there's a book he did. I think it was called Thresher.
That was Trencher.
Trencher, and it was
an image book.
It was Keith Giffen trying to draw like Frank Miller when he was drawing the Ronin series, and he was trying to ape the European artist style. It was just
all right. So talk about a '90s glut of image books.
You knock right into him, Lloyd. I'm gonna get his number from the list before Keith Giffen fucking finds us.
He's not. It's Trencher is awful.
All right. So Mark's number 5 is Metal Men. So let's go on to John. Sir John.
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Just throw it
Swamp
right
Thing.
out. Wow.
Just Swamp Thing.
ST?
Yeah.
ST to his friends?
Well, he's right in front of me, too.
Yeah.
And it's Swamp Thing. Yeah, it's Swamp Thing.
No comment. That's it. Just Swamp Thing.
Why? You want more?
Well, I don't know. Which
There's a
one?
lot of Swamp Thing.
Which Swamp Thing do you like the most?
Which one?
See my number one?
Well, which one? As far as what? There's Alec Holland as Swamp Thing.
Alec Holland, like
but you talking about Bernie
Wrightson. You like the Alan Moore
If it wasn't for Bernie Wrightson, I would never gotten into the character.
Yep.
So there's that. But the whole run that Alan Moore and Bissett and Toddleben had done, I mean, it's just it's awe-inspiring to read that stuff.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for Bernie, I would have never even looked at the character.
Well, and Len Wein too. He brought together a lot of beautiful stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Len was such a great writer and a great guy. God, I another guy that should still be around.
Right,
but-
and I agree.
July of this year, they're going to be doing the absolute editions
Yeah.
of the entire. They're
Yeah,
starting in
they
May.
are.
Yeah.
That looks an
See, I just
incredible
read
run.
all the Swamp Thing for the first time last year. Under the advice of you guys here, and I love it. He's if I had a list here, it would be in my number one.
I mean, I even like the Carrie Bates written stuff, which is prior to Alan Moore taking over the title. So it's not. It's just the character itself drives the whole story.
You know, like the Scott Snyder.
Oh,
I don't-
Or
yes.
did you not read it?
Absolutely.
I love the
When-
Scott
when
Snyder.
was Scott Snyder?
No, you didn't read that.
The New
It was
52.
Oh no,
52,
no!
yeah.
After that,
Oh no, I
No,
think
yeah,
it's
I-
great.
I thought that was
and
really
Charles
good stuff.
Soule too.
I actually go the other way. I like the Scott Snyder stuff, but it was too tied into Animal Man. Oh, that was good,
Yeah.
but it just felt like it wasn't its own book. I think the Charles Soule stuff was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
There was that last issue where if you remember, Swamp Thing ends up coming through the pages of all these books in the library in Philadelphia because they're wood, and there's a Swamp Thing that makes himself out of a popcorn kernel on the bottom of a movie theater. There was a lot of cool ideas in that book.
Swamp Thing's best appearance was in an issue of Hellblazer where he just pops out of a joint.
He makes himself into a weed plant for Constantine's 40th birthday.
Was it 40th?
30th or 40th birthday.
I think it was 40th
Yeah.
at that point.
So here's a piece of trivia for you. The first appearance of Swamp Thing
Yeah,
was House of the
House of Mystery.
Mystery.
Mouse of Mystery. That cover artwork, that lovely blonde woman, who is she?
Don't tell me she's like Jeanette Kahn or something.
She's a well-known writer for both Marvel and DC, mostly Marvel, and she's married to a very Viking-type artist,
Louise Simonson.
Louise Simonson.
Really?
Back in the day, before she was Simonson, she was with Jeff Jones.
Oh,
And Jones and Wrightson were all good pals, and he needed a photo reference, so he said, "Hey, Louise, can you come over here and let me draw you?"
wow!
And that's Louise Simonson.
I never knew that.
That's awesome.
See, learning
Hey,
on Pint
Learning
Comics.
something
Little
new. Even
piece
John
of-
learned
little-
something
little-
new.
So far
nugget
today,
there.
I've learned that it's Masztal, not Masztal.
Yep.
And I know that now the woman on House of Mystery, what was it, 92 or something like that? What
House,
was it?
House of Mystery 92.
92. It was is Louise Simonson.
in 1961 or something like that.
Yeah, I did.
That's
I
in
kicked
the
myself for never
that's in the
buying
big Swamp
that.
Thing omnibus that I
Yeah,
have.
yeah. They usually put. I have the same one. It's like the first issue on
Yeah.
there.
And they just reprinted it for the it was the Walmart
Oh, I have
Swamp
that.
Thing Christmas special.
Yep.
They for some reason they decided they wanted to reprint that whole 6-page story at the end of it. I was like, why?
I haven't read it yet. It's sitting right over there, but I have it.
Sorry.
No, it's not a spoiler, but
And then getting back to the big omnibus, I've been doing some work with Steve Bissett, and he just sent me his 25,000 word forward for this thing.
Oh no!
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was just talking about that too.
Yeah.
That's I guess has been approved by everybody, and it's just waiting to actually be approved by DC.
It's
to
like
get
26 pages long.
That's a long forward. That's like 5 chapters.
The last time he wrote something like that was that long for a forward, it got edited pretty heavily, and he was okay with it.
Last time he wrote anything that big, it ended up being that special book for
that
Brad
damn
Pack.
Oh,
For Rick Veitch's Brad Pack. And his forward turned into its own book.
he is a loquacious person.
Love you, Steve.
loquacious.
All right.
He
So
is.
John's number 5 is Swamp Thing.
I will put Swamp Thing there.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Good one. So John, what's your number 4?
Number 4. There's going to be through a couple of these definitely a pattern of I don't necessarily always like the white hat heroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tend to like the anti-heroes.
You like the questionable ones.
Yeah, like I didn't put Punisher on my Marvel one on purpose because I felt like he's a little bit different. He's not even he's just kind of a murderer. I enjoy the character. He's kind of a murderer, but this one here I feel like is he still kills, but he usually will kill for the correct reason. Jonah Hex. I love Jonah
all
Hex.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jonah
Almost made my list.
yeah, Jonah Hex is if you don't know, an ex-Confederate soldier who they made it a big point that his biggest disagreement with the Confederate States was that he wasn't into slavery. So right off the bat, you might think, how could you root for a Confederate soldier? But they made it a point of the character that he wanted nothing to do with slavery, and that's what made him kind of desert. Raised by Native Americans, basically after he leaves the Confederate Army, he becomes a bounty hunter, and it's it's an unusual, in a time where everything was superheroes and space. It was a Western thing. I mean, there was a lot of Western books back in the day, but they had kind of fizzled out at that point. There was Scalp Hunter and a few other heroes still in the DC pantheon. He debuted in
Fire Hair. Mark has rolled his eyes at me.
She actually showed up, I think,
shit.
for a while. No, I'm thinking of Cinnamon, right? Was that Cinnamon?
Cinnamon was, very, very short-lived character, but
But she was DC, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
Cinnamon
she showed
Girl?
up, just Cinnamon. Yeah.
you're thinking like Nighthawk and
Yes.
who are those other terrible masked?
Batlash.
I like Batlash.
I do too. So the thing that made me fall in love with Jonah Hex is I've gone back and I've read a lot of the old stuff.
Is that Marvel?
Yeah.
The stuff that I kind of really fell in love with again was in the mid 2000s, early 2000s. Thank you for that. Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray did a 70 issue series. It's probably my favorite modern comic series of all time. And issue 50 is probably my favorite issue of a comic book in the last 15 years.
Was that?
Wow.
It was that one was Palmiotti and Gray with Darwin Cook on art.
Cook, okay.
And it was basically
love Darwin
the whole
Cook.
idea of that one issue was it starts off where Jonah Hex is chasing this giant gang. I can't remember if it's 50 or 100 guys. And the story is interceding between him hunting these guys down. And in the book, there was a woman named Tallulah who is also a bounty hunter that he kind of has this relationship with that's kind of weird. And she ends up getting pregnant by him. He finds out about the baby, and this fanatical religious woman steals their baby. And it turns into what Jonah Hex does to this woman. It is by far one of the best comics I've ever read.
Wow.
I met Jimmy Palmiotti at Comic-Con a couple years ago, and I got a chance to talk to him, and I brought it for him to sign. And I gave it to him. He signed it and then handed it back to me and said, "Thank you for reading." And I said, "Dude, I just want to let you know that this issue is like my go-to reread issue. And it's my favorite comic of like the last 10 years." He, without saying a word, grabbed it out of my hand and then sketched a Jonah Hex on the front
nice.
and handed it back to me.
Nice.
And it was so great. But Jonah Hex is just, and again, I've read a lot of the old
That's
stuff.
awesome.
But that series itself
It's so good.
is
really good.
incredibly good. I mean, the fact that I don't know who the editor was now off the top of my head, but they went out and got a French artist, Jordi Bernet, and he did ridiculous amount of issues,
Right, and well,
and
the
then
thing-
covers for this, which unheard of for an American publisher to find a French artist. They just don't do that.
and kind of unheard of too in terms of comics in today's day and age.
Western.
70 issues, a Western, and there's only, I think, in 70 issues, 2 stories that run past 2 issues.
Yeah,
There's
they're all pretty short.
All single issues. So you could read it any which way you want. There's one that's like his origin, that's like 2.
In the beginning, they were trying to do like 4 issues and then a single issue and then 4 issues and then
They pretty much went right to single issues.
But they stopped after that because the original artist that they had, remember him?
They changed so much.
Well, the original artist they had was supposed to carry on like that, and he didn't last past issue 12. I
See,
think.
I'd have to go back and check it out again.
I honestly don't remember now, but
Yeah.
Now, for
a
those
few
people,
beers ago.
now those people who are listening who don't know the big catch about Jonah Hex,
Oh yeah, well,
tell them about how he looks.
Oh, yeah, Jonah Hex has got a...
He's all fucked up.
Jonah Hex has a fucking meat locker face. He was at one point in when he was still living with the Native Americans, right? He went back. There's this whole thing where him and his half brother, who was actually a Native American, they ended up having some kind of issue. The father liked Jonah Hex more, basically, and he burn him with a tomahawk, right, across the face.
Yes.
So basically, Jonah Hex's mouth looks like a fucking
he's
like
also
a Florida hooker's vagina.
Wow.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's gross. It's
With
gross.
the big pop eye, and you
His-
can see his teeth.
His eye basically has no lid anymore,
Yeah.
and the other thing, if you're not aware, is that they made possibly one of the worst comic book movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've
Jonah
not
Hex-
seen that.
Which it shouldn't have been. It just doesn't make any sense why they take a character like that and just ruin.
Yeah.
Megan
Everything.
fucking Fox.
I didn't.
And
I've
I'll
never
tell you
seen
what,
it.
I've said it to this
Awful.
day. I've seen it.
I know you have.
If they said let's do this again seriously, Josh Brolin would have killed it.
Yeah.
Because Josh Brolin
Yeah.
looked great as him.
He did.
but
he was well cast.
they gave him he could talk to the dead.
Yeah, well.
And then the other part that
Because
just,
they wanted to do Two Gun Mojo or some bullshit.
And my other favorite thing is that, you can't, I've mentioned this before, maybe on the podcast, if you fart around a horse, it's going to be startled. He had Gatling guns attached to his horse.
Joe Lansdale's Two Gun Mojo, which was a big hit in the mid 90s for a resurgence of Jonah Hex. It was a Vertigo book.
Right. I remember. I've never read that. I've seen it.
3 series. Do you remember that?
I think so.
It was 3 different series of Jonah Hex. The first one was a 5-issue miniseries. It was a big hit for Vertigo. Big hit for Jonah Hex, who had been a character that's been languishing in limbo for years. So they bring him into Vertigo. It fit in Vertigo.
Right.
He's brutal, killing everything, and then there's this weird element of the occult around it, which he just kind of shrugs his shoulders at.
Yeah,
Right.
the White Worm.
That was the second
one? Okay.
second or
Because that was
third
Tim
one.
Truman doing the artwork.
Yeah, Tim Truman did beautiful artwork.
And let's not forget, in between those two, after the original series got canceled in the early '80s, there was a whole series of like 40 issues where he was in the future.
No,
Right?
it was only about a dozen.
Oh, was it a dozen?
Yeah, that was Michael Fleischer writing Hex, and it wasn't that far after the cancellation of the earlier series.
Okay.
It was very quick. So it was about 12 issues. It was called Hex, and he got thrown into a post-apocalyptic future.
Yes.
And they tied it all up in the DC history, and it all worked because he
I
eventually
picked
went back to his.
I picked up like 7 or 8 of those at like Comic-Cons
forget
in
who
quarter
drew
bins,
those.
but I've never finished it.
4 for $1.
Yeah, no, they're
Deservedly so.
Well, like Booster Gold used to be a 10 for $1 kind of comic, but now the first issue, because of his resurgence, it's a $25 first issue.
Yeah.
Where you used to be able to pick it up for a quarter.
All right, Lloyd,
But anyway,
move us along.
Moving along. One more thing about Jonah Hex. My own son named Jonah.
Name Jonah.
Yeah. You know what his middle name is?
I hope it's not Hex.
It's Hex.
No, it's not.
It's Hex.
It is. You're full of shit.
Yeah, I'm full of shit.
Jonah Hex Manster. Sure.
Jonah Hex Manster.
Everyone in my family does have Manster somewhere in their name. Yeah.
That's creepy.
All right, so moving on. Mark, you're number 4.
Number 4, because I'm still an old fart. Another team, the Doom Patrol.
Oh, okay.
So, the Doom Patrol, who...
Isn't that Brendan Fraser?
That's not Brendan Fraser.
Ain't he the robot man?
He's a big fat robot man.
Oh, let's not pick on him.
Yeah, I can't wait to read
I
Doom
give him a
Patrol.
lot of credit for everything he's been through
Yeah.
and being blackballed and abused.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I like him, man. The other day on the internet, Pluto TV, the movie School Ties was on, and I was watching it. The one where he was the Jewish kid that goes to the all-white prep school, and there's a ton. Like it's Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. There's a ton of people in it.
It's not Encino Man.
No, it's right after Encino Man, but he's really fucking good in it. And I'm like, this.
He is
He was
good.
good in The Mummy. He was good.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
The Mummy
And
was
it was just
great.
one
They
of
were
those
great
things.
movies.
First 2, the third
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
No, I didn't
yeah.
watch the third one, but yeah, those first 2 were real good, and they could have done a lot more with
I
them.
wish he had. I like Brendan Fraser.
But
So I'm
there's a
just-
reason that they
Yeah,
couldn't.
he just had a resurgence a couple years ago. He was on a miniseries. I can't remember what it was. He played some kind of Western private investigator.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And he was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as he came on, man, he ate up the screen.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Doom
Yeah,
Patrol,
Doom Patrol.
1963, Arnold Drake, drawn by Bruno Premiani. Great book.
I'm a big fan.
Cliff Notes are Cliff Notes, Cliff Steele. Niles Calder, the chief, brings together these 3 people, who are kind of all misfits. They've all had kind of weird accidents in their lives. Cliff Steele was a race car driver who then was in a huge accident. The only thing they were able to keep was his brain. They put in his big robot body. Rita Farr was this actress who fell into the waters of the Amazon and got some crazy elastic stretchy powers, so she's Elastic Girl. And they got Larry Trainer, who was a test pilot, and he got zapped by some funky opportunist energy.
Everybody got zapped by energy,
Nice.
baby, in the 60s in comic books.
Yeah. And now he's able to send out a being out of his body called Negative Man for 60 seconds. If he doesn't return, he dies.
Yep.
Where does he shoot him out of?
It just comes right
out
out.
of his body.
Just his whole body. Okay.
And
He looks like
And
the
he's-
Invisible Man. He's covered in bandages.
Yeah, he's
he's all
covered,
wrapped
covered
up
in
in bandages.
very specifically chemically treated bandages
yes.
to keep the negative. What is it? The radiation, I guess.
Yep.
From
And when you see him unwrapped, his face
Yeah,
is kind of
he's-
translucent, so you
yeah.
can see his skull through
It's-
his skin.
it's
Right.
really weird. And Premiani did some beautiful artwork.
Oh, yeah.
man.
Real
God.
clean.
The line work is so nice. It's stuff that I loved when I was a kid.
I think an important thing to mention about the Doom Patrol, too, for a lot of people out there is that this is the team that a lot of people, a lot of comic fans, believe the X-Men totally fucking ripped off.
Oh, Stan Lee ripped him off big
Oh
time.
yeah,
Come on.
it predates him. And
Niles Calder is a guy in a wheelchair, and then and it was like a year later, correct? That the X-Men came out.
63.
63. Yeah.
And beyond that, Niles Calder was a character in an earlier series. Well, the whole the group was in My Greatest Adventure.
Yep.
They didn't start the Doom Patrol until after the end of what was it? They folded My Greatest Adventure into the Doom Patrol.
And you also had Challengers of the Unknown mixed in there too.
Yep.
Yep.
It's titles.
Yeah,
Titles,
a great series. It's had different, variations all throughout the 52, and Grant Morrison, John Byrne. Now they got Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance writing it. And
I don't want to.
It's weird. It's kind of funky. It's not bad.
I gotta be honest. I have
bad.
the entire series of the Gerard Way
It's bad,
stuff.
Mark. It's bad. It's bad.
I like it.
No, it's bad.
I like it.
It's drawn beautifully.
You didn't realize how John's opinion works here?
No, I know.
He tells you until you submit
No,
to
it's
it.
bad. Nick Darrington is an awesome artist.
Yes.
He draws that book beautifully. But Gerard Way, sorry, pal, but stick to singing. And he's not even writing that book. He's just
But who was worse?
plotting it.
Gerard Way or Keith Giffen?
I loved Keith Giffen's book. Are you kidding me? That was the best version of the Doom Patrol since Morrison shat all over
like
the pages.
Morrison.
I thought you liked Morrison.
I did, but it's Morrison.
All right, so I've never read Doom Patrol. It's on my list. It's on my shelf. Many things to read, and I did buy, I think, volume 1 of the Morrison stuff.
There are
really good.
I have the omnibus.
So
it's called the Nut Crusher. If you try to read that in your lap,
and
you're
that's
never
not
gonna
even an omnibus. It doesn't even include the earlier issues that Kupperberg had written. So
Well, but that one is specifically called the Grant Morrison
Doom
Doom
Patrol
Patrol.
dick version.
Whatever. But if it's called the Grant Morrison Omnibus, then they're not going to put other writers in there.
It should be the Doom Patrol omnibus.
That's his opinion, everybody.
Yeah.
And now the Doom Patrol, now that we've got Teen Titans on DC Access, now we're going to see, actually tonight they premiered their new show, the Doom Patrol.
Oh, that's tonight.
Yeah, which is kind of a cross between the Kanigher stuff and also the Grant Morrison, because you're bringing in some of those characters, and you've got the whole redesign of Robot Man.
Yeah,
You've got that weird melting effect that Rita Farr's character has now, which was
Keith Giffen.
Keith Giffen.
But there was a reason for that.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do like though is
I'll get to that when we get to the villains episode of DC.
All right. Next episode.
Yeah, I will say though, I do like the fact that they changed out the chief from the DC Access show to Timothy Dalton.
Tim Dalton.
Because I didn't like the guy who they had. He was the wrong nationality.
Well, he was Mexican, right?
He was
He's a
Mexican. He was too young. They eventually put him into the wheelchair. But Timothy Dalton's got that whole grizzly thing going on.
Yeah, he was so good on Penny Dreadful.
I liked how in the Teen Titans episode of the Doom Patrol that they had established that the chief had just gotten out of the wheelchair, and then the accident happens and he's back, and then
back
at the
in
end,
the wheelchair.
they're just like, Chief is paralyzed again. And it's just like not a big deal. I'm like, he's fucking paralyzed.
What kills me is like the reason he's paralyzed initially in My Greatest Adventure is much more important to the creation of the Doom Patrol. So,
and you also find out too along the way, Niles Calder, not a nice person.
No, he's not a nice guy.
No, he's not a nice guy.
No.
And I will say that after watching the couple like 30-second teasers for the Doom Patrol show, I was like, oh man, this is going to look like dog shit.
Well,
but they just released a longer version of the teaser, and I thought it was really good.
The girl who's playing
Crazy Jane. She's great. Yeah.
But okay, here we go. Freaking Cyborg. Come on.
I don't know.
Different actor.
I'm okay with it.
But you know with DC that you're not going to get the same as the movie. They're so convoluted.
If here's the thing, if they do Cyborg the way he's supposed to be, like from the
Teen Titans.
Wolfman Perez Titans, and he's in the Doom Patrol briefly until he goes to the Teen Titans, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I actually enjoyed the Teen Titans TV show. We're getting way off topic here, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. And
I hated the Justice League Cyborg look.
Oh, I did too.
He was so stiff.
It was
I hated
CGI,
it. I hated it.
CGI.
Yeah. At least this new guy, I mean, he's the right age. We'll see how they retweak this, the origin story.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Right.
All right.
Okay, done.
All right. So we go from Doom Patrol to John's number 4.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
What's my number 4? out of my list of a million characters.
He's got a notebook, folks.
I do.
He always does. He looks like a fucking.
It's a little notebook.
He looks
but
like
it's a
he looks like a
notebook.
newspaper
It's
writer.
got a
from
lot of
19
words.
I got notes in here from like 3 years ago. All right, so I'm gonna go with the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott.
Alan Scott.
Purple cape.
Purple cape, those weird Greek boots.
Oh, the
and,
Buccaneer boots.
The brown giant belt that he had, and it was just great.
The domino mask.
Yeah, it's classic stuff. And then the ring is not your standard ring. It's a lantern from the railroad,
Right.
because originally he was somewhere on the railroad.
Isn't that why his weakness is wood? Has something to do with the railroad as well?
I don't remember that exactly, but
So it's
the
not a ring.
it is a ring. He has a ring. He has a power battery, but
All right.
it's a lantern shaped like a brakeman's lantern, basically.
Like an oil lamp. One of the old oil
Yeah,
lamps from the
yeah.
Giants. Yeah.
Yeah, and the ring is this giant. You should see.
It's
if
big.
you'd ever met his creator, Marty Nodell. Martin Nodell was this character, little grizzled up old guy, and his wife had a ring made up just like the ring that Green Lantern wore, and it was like the size of her finger. I mean, it was huge.
Wow.
Alan Scott is a cool character.
Yeah, Alan Scott was great, and he's one of the most powerful of the DC characters of that time period.
Now, was he Justice League or Justice Society?
Justice Society.
JSA.
Okay. Because and look who else was in that team. You know,
Oh, it's a huge. I mean, I wrote
Midnight
down
Atom.
JSA as almost
The whole
like
team.
the team.
Yeah.
I mean, if we just picked teams, oh my God, I'd do all of it.
Justice Society, yeah.
The
Another
Justice
whole
Society
episode.
is just an amazing thing. But Alan Scott alone, just from the look, the abilities, the sheer amount of villains that still resonate from that time period, it's an amazing.
And his
thing.
legacy. He's had a couple
Yeah.
kids that have become
Well, yeah, there's that
you know,
too. But I don't even
Jade
know. Do they
and,
even exist now?
Obsidian.
Obsidian.
Do they exist now?
I don't-
the new 52 Dan Didio shitbound.
I'll be completely honest.
It's like a fart stain, is what it is.
Even though I still read some DC stuff, when I think of DC continuity, I still think of pre-New 52. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
you have to understand this. That there's pre-New 52, pre-crisis New 52.
I'm talking about pre-New 52,
Yeah, well,
2000s, 90s.
There's pre-crisis, post-crisis, and you get into all that kind of stuff. But it's all the same to me at that point.
Right.
Once you do the Flashpoint New 52.
At what point did he become Sentinel? When Hal Jordan came around?
No. He became Sentinel when some editorial edict decided that there couldn't be more than one Green Lantern, and that doesn't make much sense when you have a Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So someone said, "Oh, let's make him Sentinel," which actually didn't. It wasn't a bad thing. It was kind of cool. The power he gets is based off of a meteorite instead of
Power Lantern.
Right.
Right, because he never was a part of the Corps
No,
either.
he never was.
He had nothing
Never
to do with OA or all that shit.
No, but they did try and tie it in. Like the Starheart, which was the meteorite
The
that gave
Starheart,
him the
yeah.
power, came from Oa. As someone retrofitted that.
He was
in.
like a freelance Green Lantern Corps.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what were you asking me there? It was
Sentinel?
yeah, Sentinel.
Yeah.
But the Starheart de-aged him post 0 Hour.
Okay.
So,
okay.
so when he got older during 0 Hour, then the Starheart de-aged him, so he was younger. It was actually a really good story where he became Sentinel. The Starheart is more magically powered rather than scientifically powered.
Right.
So he deals with a lot of that stuff. And then while he was Sentinel, he was dealing with the fact he looked like he was 25 while his wife was
87.
70.
Yeah.
And
I ain't banging that.
He's looking younger than his kids. It was really well written for a very, very brief period, and then he got aged again.
I ain't putting my dong in that.
It was too bad, but that's
My
that's
daughter
number.
looks really nice.
She looking sweet.
Wow, you guys just dive deep.
All right, so we got the OG Green Lantern number 4. So moving on to number 3.
All right. My number 3, again, here we go with the anti-hero thing. This character can only really be called a hero in terms of the fact that he's technically the hero of his own book, but by no way, shape, or form is he like a hero.
All right.
But it's just a character I love. And I'm going, now again, we were just talking about New 52, post, blah, blah, blah. I am specifically talking about the Vertigo version of this character, John Constantine.
All right.
Constantine, whatever we call him. I do agree. I'm going to say, not a heroic dude, But
I disagree with you, and I'll get to that when he's on my list.
I know he's on your list. I think he's a guy who is in a lot of ways an opportunist. I think if you're a friend of John Constantine, you're in trouble.
Right.
But
as shown in Swamp Thing.
as a pure protagonist, I love reading those Vertigo books. I still haven't read all of them, and it's a great pleasure to know that I can go and read stuff that I've never read before. Again, like we were talking about before with creators, he was a character that some of the best creators in comics flock to.
Yeah.
Garth Ennis, Brian Azzarello, who I only include Azzarello. I think Ennis was better, but my first Hellblazer was Azzarello. The first 2 trades I read were Azzarello, and it was the first one I read was the one where Freezes over, where he murders a guy in a diner, and then the second one was where he's in jail. And I didn't even know anything about this character, and I'm reading about him. And then I went back and read the Jamie Delano stuff, which is awesome. Again, Ennis, who was the guy who was on him? Paul Jenkins.
Paul Jenkins.
Paul Jenkins.
Paul Jenkins did one of the best runs.
He had a great run. I've read a lot of that stuff. And then you had guys like Mike Carey.
Mike Carey's run was
who
great.
killed it, and it just so
Denise
basically,
Mina.
Yeah.
Jeez.
if you know this character only from either the newer comic books
Milligan.
or
Milligan.
the Peter Milligan or the movie with Keanu Reeves, which again I will come out and say a good movie, not a good adaptation. I do enjoy that movie.
right.
If you just
Right.
called
Actually,
it, called it Keanu Reeves is a dark exorcist, I'd be fine with that.
And here's the thing, though, and this is where I get into the adaptation thing. It's an adaptation of a really beloved thing. They did a poor adaptation
Right.
of it.
Yeah.
But it is an adaptation, and it's definitely taken it off into its own little whatever. Is it a bad movie? Not really.
No, I enjoy it. I honestly enjoy it.
I mean,
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
wasn't really familiar with the character.
and you don't have to be to
Yeah,
watch
but
that movie.
I thought the movie was okay.
Yeah, it's a weird little.
See, I'm only
cult
familiar as far as the comics go with Alan Moore in the Swamp Thing.
Yep, Alan
He
Moore.
created
More Bissett and
Constantine,
Toddleman.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the three of them.
Yep.
and then since then I've read
And
the
then
first
I think they
big
added
volume.
Delano.
Right. I think I told you to
be
pick that
co-
up.
Maybe
Yeah.
Jimmy
too.
Delano, yeah.
Yeah. Once the book came out, then they added Delano as co-creator. So there was 4 names to be creator of John Constantine.
Wow.
And if I remember right, when Steve said that Constantine, the movie came out,
They got paid.
they got paid. He had quite a few mortgage payments off of those checks.
Nice.
That's
now-
a good
That's
story.
how it should be.
He was very he said something about like when the TV series came out, he was not getting paid for that because
Nothing.
the option of film rights had already been paid.
Had voided it out.
But any sales of the graphic novels, of course, he's still getting
still
paid
gets,
for.
yeah.
So he's like, yeah, buy them.
sadly-
and that TV show.
It was okay. I mean, at least they finally got the look right for the main lead.
I like Matt Ryan.
He
I
was
like him.
he was a good pick. I had some problems with the show overall, but
I still haven't
I watched
finished
them
it.
all. So, you know,
I
Can
still
you
finished
tell
it.
me the difference of Constantine and Constantine?
sure, post 52. Or actually, I shouldn't even say that. It's
I
even
don't
pre-52.
think the actual pronunciation is probably really different, but I understand what John's saying. The Vertigo version was a 300-page story,
300 issue.
300 issue story. He aged in real time.
Right.
And you follow this character, and again, in the Vertigo book, he's this guy who he's an occultist, but he leans on it when he has to, but he's not Doctor Strange. There's issues that go by where he doesn't cast a spell or anything.
Well, the question is, what are his abilities? You never
You never know.
You never know.
You never know. He knows a lot, but he doesn't always use a lot.
Yeah.
He's a slimy dude. He uses his mouth and to get out of a lot of trouble.
But he uses people.
He uses people.
I mean, I read that first volume.
absolutely.
It's like you don't want to know this guy.
He ends up trapping his friend in the computer.
Yeah.
To,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know, you know.
Poor
I mean,
Gary.
his first appearance in Swamp Thing, he basically dicks Swamp Thing to
Yeah.
travel all around the United States just because I need you to do this, and this.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
I would say from the few that I've read, in terms of like newer stories that he did, he's more like the version you saw in the newer show and in the movie. He's like an exorcist. He uses spells every other fucking page.
He's also a lot younger.
He's a lot younger. And again, I don't that version I read.
He's the superhero version.
Yeah, he's the superhero version.
All right.
And the little bit I read, no good.
That was Dan Didio's.
Now, do you like?
I want Vertigo
Do you
to
like
die.
them using him in JLA Dark? which I liked.
I'm reading Justice League Dark right now, the new one that's out.
He's not in that one. He was.
Yeah,
in
he
the,
is.
Oh, he was in the.
He's in that.
He was a main character in the
I read an issue
New
of that.
52.
Oh, you're
series
talking
one.
about a different series.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the New 52 version of Justice League Dark, he was like the leader of the team. Not really. I there's certain characters out there that I think work better when they're not interacting with the rest of the universe.
Okay.
And I think Constantine's one of them. I feel that way about the Punisher. Like I love the Punisher in Marvel, but when they start throwing issues where he's hanging out with the Avengers and stuff, I'm like, no,
it
this
doesn't
guy,
work.
it doesn't work. This guy is in his own corner of the world. You know.
Now, did you see the JLA Dark video?
Yes, and I fell asleep halfway through.
I thought it sucked. Oh my god! What a way to totally screw up some characters.
That was one with Dead Man, and
Yeah.
I fell asleep when they got to the house. Right,
Swamp Thing handled so badly.
I don't even know if I got to the Swamp Thing. Honestly, I was out cold.
Awful. That was a tangent. Sorry.
All right,
we're
so
we do a lot
John
of that.
Constantine, John's number 3. Moving on to Mark. What's your number 3, Mark?
Number 3, staying in the horror, world. 1972, Etrigan. No, I say
Is that how you say it?
I say Etrigan because it rhymes better with demon.
Okay.
And some people say Etrigan.
Etrigan.
But if you say, gone, the former man, rise the demon Etrigan or Etrigan, that's how I've always said it.
That's a problem with Jack Kirby. Some of the creations. Here we go. Let's spill that one out. He never really said how they're pronounced. Like everyone's like, "Oh, it's Darkseid." Yeah, I don't.
It's that way.
He actually did say it was
Darkseid.
Darkseid at one point.
Yeah.
He did say
But
that.
in all honesty,
it's-
that's so true of comic books in general.
Sure.
When you're reading a comic book, it's not like a TV show or a movie where someone's saying it. You're reading it like in the 70s.
Right.
I'm
In
sure,
your head, yeah.
I'm sure kids are going Majolner. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did.
Majolner.
I didn't know
they're
any
still.
better.
I don't know. Like when I read, I only say like Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, because people say that.
Who the hell knew?
Right.
Right.
To me, it looks
There's
like
no
Ra's al
pronunciation.
Ghul.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I see a J next to an M, I'm not thinking it's like
Yeah, because you're not a fucking Norwegian.
right. Obviously not.
No.
Well, do we have an...
I'm Swedish.
He's Swedish, but I don't even know if he knew that.
I honestly, growing up, I didn't.
Yeah.
Because my grandfather didn't speak in Swedish. So
So
Can we just
he
get
very rarely did, and even then it was.
Can we get an actual answer on that? Is it Dark Seed or Side?
It is Dark Side.
Side, okay. All right. Is it Magneto or Magneto?
Well,
I say
that's-
Magneto.
I say Magneto also.
Okay. All right.
But I would always say Etrigan.
I would say Etrigan too.
See, I'm always Etrigan.
That's
Intriguing.
interesting. It's the first time I've ever heard
Because it
somebody
rhymes
say-
better with demon.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Are you
Now,
familiar
does
with
he
Etrigan?
always speak in rhymes? Yes, I have
No,
read some.
no.
He doesn't.
No, when
Because
he-
most everything that I have read, he always speaks in
Blame
rhymes.
Alan Moore.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that came later.
When Jack Kirby was writing him, or when Jack Kirby created him back in 1972, there's none of this rhyming. He went for
Okay.
16. He went for 16 issues. He never rhymed once.
Right.
It wasn't until Alan Moore picked him up and turned him into a rhymer, and then he jumps back and forth depending on who
Yep.
writes it.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so if you get a writer who's not quite poetic enough,
Yep.
screw the rhyming. I'm just going to write straightforward, copy and
Look what happened in the Demon series that ran with Alan Grant.
Val Samaix.
Oh my God, some
Is it
excellent.
Samaix or Samaix?
I'll ask him next time I see him.
All right, thanks.
But fantastic stuff. And then when what's your buddy's name? Ennis took over.
Yeah.
Garth Ennis.
He kind of flip flopped in the rhyming.
I got to be honest. I know he's a popular character. Because of the rhyming, I fucking don't like reading Etrigan.
It's tough, especially if you get a lot of.
Yeah.
you get a lot
I
of
like it.
dialogue.
There's a whole issue of the Demon that Alan Grant wrote where it was done to the tune of Greensleeves. It was awesome.
God.
I
Remember that?
definitely like that.
And it-
Get me
it's-
the fuck out of here.
I loved it so much.
I know you haven't read it yet. But
You should have seen the issue where he tongue kissed Wonder Woman. It was so great.
that Swamp Thing-ish
Halloween
special
thing?
Walmart.
Yeah.
There's a team up in that book, and it's the weirdest team up because it's Etrigan and Aquaman.
Okay.
Really?
All right.
And Etrigan's got some of the longest dialogue going on. You get tired halfway through. You're like, I'm tired. I'm tired. Of this
I'll be
freaking
skipping.
writing
I'll be
stuff."
skipping that story.
I'll be honest with you. Now, there's a character that I love absolutely, irrevocably, but I did not put him on the hero list. He's on my in between list.
Yeah, he's in. Now here's. I don't
It's
know
very
if-
short
yeah.
in between list.
Now, I don't know if you know this piece of trivia.
Yeah, it's very short.
So Alan Moore grabs him, throws him into Swamp Thing,
Yeah.
takes care of the character. We never see, Jason Blood and Etrigan again ever. However, there was talk and a lot of work between Alan Moore, Bissett, and Tolobin that once they had finished up their run on Swamp Thing, they wanted to do a Trigan miniseries. And they were talking to DC. I think they were talking to Karen Berger and saying, can we do this? We really want to do this. And she's like, well, Matt Wagner's already got that set up, and he's going to do his own miniseries.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, son of a bitch. I like Matt Wagner. I don't like Matt Wagner on the Trigan, on the Demon.
I like that series.
And I would have killed this
Well, it
scene.
sounds like this one would have been fantastic.
More Tolobin's Beset.
Oh, no, definitely.
Oh, my God.
But,
I think that was among my favorite issues of the Swamp Thing, the Alan Moore stuff, was that weird
with the Monkey
volume there.
King
Yeah.
and all the weird.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. So imagine 6-issue or 4-issue miniseries, or even 12. Well, I don't know, 12 Beset and scheduling.
Etrigan just showed up in the second terrible issue of that Batman Damned. Did you
He
read
did,
that?
yeah,
did
he
he?
did.
He's
was
a
the
punk.
rock
He's a
star.
punk singer in a punk
Yeah,
band.
punk band.
And he sings in rhyming couplets. And I wanted to. That book already made me want to put my eyeballs out as it was.
and the third issue has been
talking.
Yeah, it's
been
being-
dropped.
Yeah.
from ordering, from distribution.
Yeah.
Fuck that book.
I just heard that news.
Yeah, so you
Fuck
put
that
you
book.
put out the first issue, you get everybody some back swaying, and then I haven't seen the second one. Now the third one they're just dropping.
The book so far, we talked about this on the podcast quickly a few weeks ago. It's Liber Mejo, so it's gorgeous art.
Yes. Oh.
It's such shit in terms of plot. And it's such
It's
terrible shit.
yeah, I guess.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's like I hate read it. I'm reading it just because I got the first two. I will buy the third one when it comes out because I'm a completionist and I deserve every bit of misery I get when I read it because it's not well done.
When it comes out eventually.
Brian Azzarello. Brian Azzarello, as I mentioned before, when my first Hellblazer writer, he's not the best writer out there in my opinion. He's done stuff I like and he's done stuff I don't like. He's very much he's one of those guys. Grant Morrison's the same way. Grant Morrison's written stuff that I think is the best stuff I've ever read, and then he's written stuff that to me is just like, what the fuck? What was that? Sea Guy. What was Sea Guy all about? All right, John's back from taking a pee-pee, so we can get to his number
help
3.
Mark's going
All
for a
right,
pee
so,
now.
yeah.
Now Mark's going for a pee-pee.
John's number 3.
This is the most pee-pees in one shot ever in Pint of Comics.
Hey.
And no editing.
No.
What happens is, where I work at the 4 o'clock hour on a Friday, we take a break for wine drinking.
Wine.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was running a little late. Going back to the Golden Age once again to one of DC's earliest costumed heroes. No, not the Crimson Avenger.
Oh, I like the Crimson Avenger in the JSA in the 2000s. The girl with the right, that was the Crimson Avenger. She had
That was
she had the
that
blindfold
version,
and the guns. Yeah.
But not the Crimson Avenger. No, I'm going with the Sandman.
The Wesley
Dodds.
Yeah.
Wesley Dodds,
Yep.
gas mask, gas gun,
From JSA.
fedora, and 3-piece suit.
Very cool looking character.
Sure.
I don't know much about him other than what I read in JSA. Was that Wesley Dodds or that was his
That was Sandy the Golden
Sandy
Boy.
the Golden Boy? Right.
Was that I think when I read JSA, it's like it started off with him jumping off a cliff
Yeah,
and
he
killing
dies.
himself.
He
Yeah.
dies, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
He was in his 90s at that point.
Yeah.
So number 3 is the Golden Age Sandman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, with the gas mask.
Yes.
Guy Davis.
I love the imagery. I love everything that happens with the character. And then we're going back to Matt Wagner, actually.
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
a 75-issue series through Vertigo called the Sandman Mystery Theater, which Guy Davis did.
He drew it.
Much of the art. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then,
fuck you, DC, by the way, on that. Because they started reprinting them in
the
trades, and I
reprints,
want to
yeah.
read that. They got
They-
to issue
they won't.
2, and they stopped because the sales were low. So there should have been 6 of them, I think, or maybe 8. And they, at that point, they should just decide we're either doing this or we're not.
They're not gonna
because
do
they get to 2 of them. There's 2 out there. I saw one at Barnes and Noble recently, but I'm not going to buy 2 of them if I can't get the rest of the fucking story.
And you can pick up the whole series for pretty dirt cheap at
Yeah.
this point. So
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Wagner wrote it. I think he co-wrote it with Steven Seagal
Yes.
early on, and eventually Matt took over full writing chores. Guy Davis did most of the art. They rotated to other people in and out. Occasionally, not Sook.
No, Sook wasn't really even on the scene yet.
No,
He was still goofing around with the Spectre.
Not
That was
Ian
a really
Ormston.
good book, by the way.
Who was it? It was another couple of guys, but did early good stuff like that.
But Guy was the guy. He was the guy.
Yeah,
He was
Guy
the
was
art-
the guy.
I was the guy.
He was the artist who really gave it gave the book a look.
Oh yeah.
And he's so fast that he was able to keep the schedule going.
Yeah.
He's not one of those guys who sits there and goes, I can do like 3 issues, then I have to take a break.
Right. But they did occasionally. They'd rotate somebody in for a couple of issues.
Different storylines.
Some crazy stuff. But the Sandman Mystery Theater, one of my top books of all time.
What was the character's power base, or
He had no power base.
no? But I mean, give everybody out there if they don't know what.
All right, so Wesley Dodds, originally he's your basic Batman. So he's a millionaire type. Decides to
like Moon Knight.
yeah, like Moon Knight. Yes,
lose over here. I
spit on my own floor.
yeah, because it's the late 30s. Gas masks are still in abundance after the Great War. So he uses a gas mask to hide his identity, and he devises his own gas gun to knock people out to do his vigilante.
Was
work.
the gas by any chance called something like Sleep-O-Mex? I just picture it being like Sleep-O-Mex.
I don't think they ever gave it a name.
No, they didn't.
And originally, and they certainly didn't give it a name in the Mystery Theater.
He played a
series.
bit into, because I'm currently going through the Neil Gaiman Sandman run, and in the first series,
There you go.
Yeah, here's the reason of the Sandman Mystery Theater book ever being produced. Because he appears in the early Neil Gaiman Sandman stories, what happens to Wesley Dodds not being able to dream ties into the Sandman Mystery Theater series from Vertigo.
Okay.
Not being able to dream, he gets these weird
Visions.
Basically, premonitions of what's happening.
I can't remember this.
When Sandman,
You're talking like the very first
Early
Morpheus
issues.
when Morpheus is contained by that old guy that has him in the bottle,
It causes Wesley
people
Dodds to go out. And
there's
do
a lot
this.
of people that can't dream anymore because
Yeah.
the dreaming realm is being cut off from
I
everybody.
vaguely remember.
They follow
this.
a bunch of different characters, and Wesley Dodds is one of them.
It was
in the Sandman.
It was like
book.
an offhanded remark in one panel.
Yeah, it's
that people went
I'm
nuts
always
over.
in total awe of how
Like
you
me.
guys remember all this stuff, and it's something I might have just read 2 months ago, and I can't remember it.
And that was the whole reason that they spun this off into this long running series. Really, I mean, it should have gone longer. It was so good towards the end, and it was nowhere near finished.
Yeah.
But sales killed it. So
And then don't forget the Kirby Sandman and Sandy with Brute.
right, which is all part of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's the same character. It's just Kirby, and that's where Sandy the Golden Boy comes in,
Right.
as his sidekick, which never appears in the Mystery Theater.
Okay.
They didn't get that far. They were going year by year. They had just gotten to 1940, I think. They hadn't even gotten to World War II yet. At least the U.S.
I got to pick these up.
It's
for sure.
so
Yeah.
good. It's so good
they're
because
so
a
good.
lot of early JSA characters appear in it, and Blackhawk, the original Blackhawk.
Blackhawk, yeah.
All right, moving on to number 2. I'm expecting to start seeing some repeats.
I
now.
haven't heard anything from
No.
you, Lloyd.
No, I don't have a list.
No,
in it- in
Lloyd's
this
the
case.
host.
Shit, you don't have a
Lloyd's
list.
the host.
He's got a list right there.
Well,
There might be a list at the end.
Yeah.
We'll read it quickly at the end. We're already running pretty long, so
Yeah.
I'm going to make my number 2 very quick, and I'm not going to talk about it very much.
My number 2 would be very quick.
My number 2 is Batman.
All right.
I love Batman. Fucker. I love Batman. Why do I love Batman? Batman. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Batman is Batman for me is entirely all about the Batman character.
Batman is who Moon Knight wishes he could be.
Batman's who most superheroes in that vein.
Stop
wish they
trying to
could be.
go.
Leave Moon Knight out of this.
Mark Spector.
I got another arm pump.
But in all honesty, we talked about the Marvel heroes on the episode we did. For me, like Spider-Man, who wasn't my number 1, that's a great rounded character. I love Spider-Man and I love Peter Parker. I don't really give a shit about Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is kind of like just this empty suit that houses Batman. Right. You know? And I love the Batman character.
Thank you, Bill Finger.
I love the detective aspect of it. I love the fact that this guy is just, he's fucking insane. That's something we don't always mention.
He's insane, yeah.
He is mentally not all there.
I would disagree with that.
See, I don't think he's okay. Maybe the word insane is a little bit off because insane.
I think the way
Maybe that's too harsh, but-
the way they've written him in the last 30 years, yes, I would agree with.
Yeah.
He's the smartest insane person in the world.
I guess, but I don't.
prior to that-
maybe not insane. Maybe the fact that okay, so your mom or dad dies, you get over it after a while. We all get over it after a while. And this guy's dressing up in his underwear beating up guys every night and bring, he brings kids into it. He does all these fucking things. But okay, so I'm just going to say real quick, Batman. And I do want to say too, I've read a lot of Batman comics. Most of the Batman comics I've read have been from the last 30 years or so. There's been a lot of good ones. I think personally, for me, the best representation of Batman ever was Batman the Animated Series. I almost want to say I think the cartoon is much more consistently better than the comic has ever been at any point in terms of what I've read. So I just want to throw out there. I want to say that version of Batman in particular.
You need to read some of the 70s stuff.
And again, I haven't read a lot of that
Neil
stuff.
Adams.
Don Newton.
Jim Aparo.
Jim Aparo.
Because Batman to me is one of the characters that
Michael Fleck.
for so many years in the 90s
Marshall Rogers
and 2000s,
Marshall Rogers.
they
Terry
throw
Austin.
all these people on the Batman book. They throw all these people on the Batman. No, I'm sorry.
Lloyd's taking notes over here.
They always throw all these people on these books, like Spider-Man, and they put J. Michael Straczynski, and they do all this stuff. And Batman, like, they never seem to know what to do with him. You know what I mean? Like, he ends up getting these writers that are decent writers. Like, this is your flagship character.
Did you ever read the Alan Grant, Norm Brayfogle
Yes.
stuff?
No, I enjoyed that.
That was a
ton.
lot of good stuff.
I enjoyed that a ton.
That was a lot of good stuff right there.
So I just said I wasn't going to talk about Batman too much.
Yeah, right. That was a pretty good little...
So, well, but I'm
I
done.
just said a lot right there.
All right, he's done.
Batman done.
Mark, what's your number 2?
Batman.
All right. I got a
Is it
feeling it
really?
might be across the board here.
No, John said he wasn't going to put Batman on.
I'm
this.
not, but that's funny.
Fucker Batman.
Well, these are wonderful. These are the ones where you could just say one or two things we can go around.
Okay, I will say one thing.
Which version?
For you. God.
See?
I really like the Bob Kane, Bill Finger
Okay.
with the Mad Monk and the werewolves and all that when he actually used to carry a gun. Don't forget, I'm old.
That's early on.
You're not that fucking old.
I'm not that old.
Yeah.
But we read those in those big omnibuses.
Yeah,
that
we did, and they were fantastic.
Yeah, they were great.
I will say that I won't get too much on Batman because because John just did everything. John just did it all. But I will say there's a documentary out called Bill and Me.
Yes.
And it's all about.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's all about Bill Finger.
It's on Amazon Prime, I think, right? Yeah.
And it's about how
There's
he
a book, too.
kind of got
More
seriously,
notes.
he got seriously dicked over by Kane.
Well, Bob Kane was.
Bob Kane was
Yeah.
A dickhead? That's kind of what I kind of gather.
It's hard to put him that way in the context of what he's dealing with at the time.
I mean, he was the one that he didn't come up with the look. That was all
Right.
Bill Finger. His character was completely different. Bill Finger came in and kind of straightened him out.
He didn't create the Joker either, right? That was Jerry.
No, that was Jerry Robinson. Well, it's always been a contention between Kane and Robinson who did the Joker.
Right.
But then they also then
And how much they stole from a movie.
they all steal from the movie The Man with the Smile. Yeah. But I will say though, the Bill Finger documentary is really good because it plays up the fact that he was like the silent partner. He's the one that did all the creative stuff.
Yep.
And Bob Kane took and reaped all the rewards and kind of gave Bill some money here and there once in a while. And poor Bill Finger dies alone,
Yeah.
by himself. His family's, God knows, all over the place. And here's Bob Kane sitting there schmoozing with with Adam West and all these guys and doing his thing. And
Not only that, but lives all the way up to the point of Tim Burton's movie.
Yeah, he was
Right.
in the
He's
movie.
in the movie.
He was the police sketch artist, yeah.
So, I mean, he got to reap more of the benefits than any of these people ever
He got
did.
to act in a scene with Robert Wool.
yeah. Wow.
That's something Bill Finger can't say.
How recently has Bill Finger been getting the credits in
He
the book?
is now.
Just recently,
Yeah.
just since
3 years or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Not even that long.
Yeah.
No,
it's a
ever
couple
since
years.
I think it was Batman versus Superman, he finally got the nod. Either that or the Justice League movie.
In the movies.
yeah,
Yeah. It's.
comics. It's been a couple years.
In the books, it's been at least a couple, but not much more.
No, and it was a big deal to get his name on the books.
was.
Yeah.
Because of the Kane contract.
Yeah, and his daughter Athena Finger
Yeah.
has been really pushing it for years,
Yeah.
and finally, she gets the nod, and she gets the okay from DC Comics and Warner Bros. Saying, "Yeah, okay, we will give you this. That your dad has done it." And
Yeah.
and I'm a friend with hers
We'll
on
admit it.
Facebook, and she's awesome.
Yeah.
She's a real nice person.
Yeah, right in the face.
John just got bashed by his
unusual.
microphone.
Right in the schnoz.
That never happens. To
No,
you.
I was. I'm a little shocked. I think did we? I don't know if we met her. Was she? She wasn't
No,
at BenCon,
we-
was she?
No, she wasn't.
We saw her somewhere.
Athena Finger?
Yeah,
She was in Rhode Island, I believe.
or was she at Terrificon?
No, not terrific.
All right,
No.
I think we saw her somewhere, but
I believe she was in Rhode Island.
okay.
If she was at Rhode Island, I would have never. Anyway, at number 2 is John Constantine.
All right.
Who?
John Constantine.
Have we talked about him?
Yes, we have actually. And I will say what I was going to say earlier when you brought him up, why he's a hero. He's a hero in his own mind. He believes everything he's doing is true to what he's trying to do.
That's what I kind of meant when I said he's a hero in his own book.
He's trying to save
Right.
things. He's trying to do things. He may do them in the worst possible way, and in some ways, things don't quite go the way he wants them to go.
Right.
Which may just be his own damn poor luck or his own poor choices. But he is truly, he wants to be the hero. He's the Sawyer. Of the comic.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
I like that. I like that
Yeah,
reference.
Yeah.
Blonde hair and a tan.
Yeah.
Freckles.
And he's also just like the worst punk artist of all time. So yeah.
He's
All
a
right.
Mucus membrane, man.
He's kind of like in a weird way. He's kind of like Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the fact that he's atoning for something that he did he was a part of many
He's
years ago.
trying.
All right. I was wondering where you're going with the Peter Parker.
No,
thing.
no.
Okay.
Peter
Yeah,
Parker Parker, much like Batman, is driven by something that happened so long ago and
Right.
it was not his fault.
Yeah.
John Constantine is driven by the Newcastle incident,
Yep.
which from issue 1 to issue 300 is brought up throughout the series.
Oh, constantly.
And actually, I think they actually did a story about it.
Yeah,
and
Delano eventually.
Yeah.
finished the
They
whole
mentioned in
thing.
the Swamp Thing books too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he's a guy.
Newcastle.
He's a guy who's
Newcastle.
haunted
It's like
by his past.
slammed into your head.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
All right.
Great stuff. But yeah, that's my number 2.
So moving on to number one.
Number one. All right, my number one. I'm gonna save most of it for Mark because I think we're on the same page. So I'm only gonna say that mine is Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
I love Swamp Thing. For me as a kid, the movie. All I'm gonna say is the movie
I've already got yours written down.
was important to me. It was one of those HBO movies that was on every 2 hours, and I watched it all the time.
And it was because of Adrienne Barbeau's titties.
Adrienne Barbeau's titties were just fantastic in that movie. But
yeah,
no,
we're never getting her on the show.
I enjoyed the movie. And then when I was a kid, I think I read a couple issues here and there. In all honesty, it wasn't until I got back into comics in the 2000 or so, someone recommended that I read the Alan Moore stuff. And there's been a lot of books that people have recommended to me over the years. They say, you got to read this run, you got to read that run. And I've read a lot of them, and some of them I go, I don't get it. And some of them I go, holy shit, this is as good as what people say. Swamp Thing, Alan Moore, Into the Rick Veitch stuff is as good as people say. I'm finding out now currently on a separate end, Sandman is as good as people say. But Swamp Thing is just, he's a great character. What he could do, his powers. And then, again, when you get into the Moore stuff and you find out that this character that you thought was a human turned into a muck monster is a muck monster created from the thoughts and feelings of a human. It's, I don't know, it's transcendent comic book writing.
It is.
And
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fantastic. And just pure design, power set and everything. What Swamp Thing can do is just, he's the coolest looking character.
He's an elemental.
He's an elemental.
Right.
Right. So Mark, we know, okay, you're number one.
So
You're
yeah,
number
let's move
Swamp
on to
Thing.
Mark.
Continue.
Continue the Swamp Thing saga.
Fuck a duck. Man, I got my list. I got everything. Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. We're on the same page, right?
Yeah. Jaws, Swamp Thing.
That's right.
The Thing.
The Thing.
Hey, we're all there.
I wonder what my number 1 is.
Did you see the new Pops?
Oh God.
What were they pops for now?
Jaws.
Fuck me. Are you serious?
You've got the 3 main characters and 2 different sharks. One with a tank in his mouth, one without.
Oh, wow.
I'm literally ready to fucking run through a wall right now. All right.
I saw them today on Facebook. I sent it to my wife and I said, look, honey. And she goes, holy shit, I'm going to have to buy these for you for your Christmas. I was like, you bet.
There you go, Lloyd.
Oh, yeah.
I wish my wife would do stuff like that.
I buy her pops. She buys me pops,
I get
Not as
pop.
bad as you guys. You guys are like freaking ridiculous.
I'll show you the pops after we record.
Yeah, show me your pop room. All right, so Swampy Thing. I found them, early 70s, all the Wrights and stuff and Len Wein stuff right off the bat because it's 1972, so I was 9 years old. And I found this stuff in the local comic book store, and I'm just like, what is this? And I was like, it was great to see a horror book coming back because we hadn't had one in a long time.
That's true.
You did have House of Mysteries and stuff, but
But those weren't horror.
they weren't really horror.
Yeah.
But what was Swamp Thing called during the Alan Moore? Sophisticated suspense?
Yes.
Yeah, right at the top.
Oh, it was such a great.
Had a great run and then tanked.
Yeah.
Had some of the shittiest episodes, shittiest issues.
Let me guess. You don't like Doug Wheeler.
I don't like Doug Wheeler.
I'm like the only person I know that's read that entire run that thought Doug Wheeler was okay.
I have it all. I've never read it.
And then you had Scott Eaton doing some of the artwork, and I like Scott Eaton. Some of his stuff is good.
Yeah.
If he's got the right inker, he's dead nuts on, and he cranks. He's one of these guys who's very underrated because when you look at his pencils and how much he puts into them, he does a beautiful job.
What about Nancy?
Nancy Collins?
Nancy Collins, yeah.
I've read her horror stuff. I thought her stuff was okay. She had that Bayou slant coming through because she's from the South. I really like that. Yeah, Dave Michelini, he did some stuff. Dave Michelini and Jerry Conway.
Oh, earlier on.
Yeah,
earlier on, yeah.
But then you had Marty Pasco coming in.
Marty.
And working with Tom Yates. And then that just led into Bissett Tolobin and more. And
a lot of people don't like Tom Yates, and I think they're missing out.
Oh, I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, because he did some stuff even during the Moore run or maybe even later. Yeah.
I think he caught one or two issues of Alan Moore.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Bissett and Tolobin were coming in and ghosting him on a few pages to keep him on schedule.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you ever see a Tolobin or an Alan Moore script, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, 20-page description on one panel.
Yeah, and as an artist, you don't have to figure this out and break it down and try to make it work.
The bowl of fruit is menacing in the corner. Okay, how do you make a bowl of fruit fucking menacing?
The day that Bissett told me about one particular issue, and it was a room that you're walking in as you're the reader walking into the room, and it's all described out. What's on the shelf? What's on this? What's here? What's there? He goes, it went on for 20 pages. Yeah. And it took me forever to draw this one panel.
Oh, man. You know what's great about the Swamp Thing, too? He has features, but he doesn't ever have to look the same. Ever. From artist to artist or from one page to the next.
There's honestly
really.
one thing that every artist seems to keep in Swamp Thing.
The freaking pointed nose.
That nose ridge.
That thing?
Whatever
the ridge.
The nose ridge.
Yeah. The nose ridge.
Well, that
seems to be almost like in the
Wrighton.
Bible. It's like no matter what you do, he's got to have that fucking weird nose ridge.
Right.
Yeah.
He can be made out of a log. Put a nose ridge in it. Yeah.
I like all the Muck Monsters. I like the Heap. I like some of these other characters. It the Unknown.
Giant-sized man-thing.
Giant-sized man. I like Man-Thing. I think, though, if they ever treated him more like they gave him some character. If they did something and expanded his character instead of just being, he
senses your fear or
he
whatever.
senses the fear.
Whatever.
He burns you when
everyone dies at the touch of the fear of the whatever. Yeah.
Man-Thing is basically Moon Knight.
Yeah. From the swamp.
Now we get the finger.
He's another shitty Marvel character.
Yeah. No, they just didn't. I mean, they didn't know what to do with him. He was always kind of like a grade C actor in his own book.
Yeah.
And just to help spice it up, they brought in Frank Bruner and Howard the Duck. So all of a sudden now you've got this character just shambles along, doesn't do anything. They haven't done anything with him. He was in a god awful shitty movie.
They made that movie right before Iron Man, right? It was like a sci-fi movie.
It was a sci-fi movie.
The shambling something or other. He had some kind of nickname.
And
we're talking about Man-Thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they mentioned Ted Salas's character, and they have him just like he's a lump out in the swamp. Now we got the new Swamp Thing movie or TV show coming out.
Yep.
And I mean, it's not Dick Durock. It's not,
he's dead.
It's different look. Yeah, well, it's a different look. So let's see what they can do with it. Can they give us something that will look as sophisticated as we hope, especially with a lot of the CGI effects that you can get.
My hope is that for the TV show is that they're able to put him in a practical suit that looks as good as the Durock one did in like the second movie and like the TV show.
TV show, yeah.
But be able to actually have him do things like where he can. Grow things off of them, sprout wings and stuff like that. Where it's not just he's like I said, I enjoyed the Swamp Thing movie from '82, but he's just a fucking big guy in a rubber green suit.
Right? No, I agree.
The only thing he does in that whole movie that was slightly, I guess, supernatural was when he rubs his stuff on her cut titty. Remember, he has his slime and he rubs. He pulls the slime off of his chest and he goes, "Here you go."
He rubs a little moss on her.
He's like, "You're gonna be okay."
Yeah. I mean, I do like the 52 version of him that Scott Snyder did.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
With Yannick Paquette.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I love that. I thought the look Yannick was like the
Yannick Paquette is fucking amazing.
He's freaking amazing.
He's also one of the nicest.
I've got a nice Yannick Paquette Swamp Thing sketch.
Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, he does everything digitally. Him and Nathan Fairbairn does the color work. Beautiful. I mean, just great, fantastic layouts. It has
Wow.
It has
We
no
just-
news
we
in
just,
his words.
watched a
It
moment
had,
there.
It had an organic feel to it throughout the
Organic.
entire book.
Organic or
Yeah.
something.
Organic is
I agree. I love the new 52 Swamp
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
And then, like we were discussing before, when John mentioned Swamp Thing, Charles Soule. I mean, his stuff was really well written, and that's when they brought in the red, the green,
Oh, the metallic, whatever it was
the
called,
bacteria.
The bacteria. Yeah,
That was really creative.
Yeah, I did like that.
I'm all on board.
All right.
As long as they can do something with Swamp Thing and really make it work, I'll be a very happy person.
So, yeah, that's
Look at
two
me.
Swamp Things for number one. So we're just waiting to hear from Sir John.
And just real quickly,
one more thing.
the pop Swamp Thing,
I have all three.
fucking sucked.
I love them.
Oh, I thought they sucked.
See, mine stay in the box, so I'm not really 100% sure how they might be out of the box, but
Now,
I got all three.
did they ever do a Man Thing?
I don't know because I don't like shitty characters.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
That's what she said.
All right.
Did they ever?
John number one.
So back to John. Sir John, number one.
It is not Swamp Thing because he was already on my list. My number one is a member of the Doom Patrol.
A single member.
A single
Robot
member.
Man?
Robot Man.
Cliff Steele,
Oh, I was
All
gonna-
right.
the Robot
I was
Man.
going to ask if he was green.
If he was Negative Man.
Was it Mentalo?
No, God, no. Cliff Steele, the Robot Man, has been a favorite of mine for so bloody long.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've always dug Robot Man. And when the Morrison spin of it came after Kupperberg's run, and he just wanted to be called Cliff Steele, I was down with that. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Here's a guy that finally wants to shed this ridiculous superhero title of Robot Man and be more human, even though you're just a brain in a casing.
Right.
It was just really cool, and I loved Richard Case's drawings. I have an original. He was a real nice guy. I met him up in Boston at one point, and
Quirky artist, but it fit the
very
book.
quirky. Yeah, and I wish he would do more because I like what he does.
Yep.
And
Great redesign with the shoulders.
yeah, it just worked with the boots and here's a robot guy wearing pants and a jacket and t-shirts half the time. Where in the Premiani books and Arnold Drake, he's just Robot Man with his little jockey shorts
gold
there,
underwear,
and the what do you have? The radio
Yeah, the
TV thing,
radio
on his
TV.
chest,
Yeah, because that's how the Chiefs saw what they all did.
Right. It was based on that. But Cliff Steele is my number one. I just love the character. I always have. Wow. I never really cared for the way John Byrne would draw him. But just about anybody else that drew him
Too slick.
did a real good job. Yeah, partly that. And his weird fascination with Elastigirl drove me nuts. But that has nothing to do with the reason I like Cliff Steele.
All right. So John's number one, Robot Man, Cliff Steele.
It is.
And
Do you want to hear my also rans?
Give us your
Yeah,
also
give us
ran.
a couple
also
also
rans?
rans.
Green Arrow was on the list.
I love Green Arrow.
Green Arrow's on
Yeah.
my list. I crossed out Dr. Occult and Dr. Midnight, the original.
oh, all right.
But also Sergeant Rock and Captain Comet were on my list.
Ooh, Sergeant Rock. That's one I never think about. That's a good one.
See, I eliminated. I didn't put him on the list, but the Creeper,
Oh, the Creeper, yeah.
Ragman.
Yeah, I like Ragman.
I kicked Flash Wally West off.
I was
Particularly
almost
Wally
going
West,
to do
because
Jay
Bar-
Garrick.
Yeah. To me, Wally West was always my Flash because honestly, Barry Allen and Hal Jordan to me are like just like glass of water characters. Like
They're kind of Pop-Tarty,
there's really nothing there.
Right.
They're
Little
almost
sugary.
interchangeable to me. Just two straight arrow guys.
One's
that are-
blonde, one's brown
One's blonde,
hair.
one's brown hair, and they have these. And Lloyd's got his Flash shirt on, and that's actually Barry Allen.
But, yeah.
All right, so Lloyd, why don't you recap our list real quick?
All right. So,
You write them all down?
yeah, I got them all.
I
there.
know I saw him writing them down. That's why I asked.
All right, so Johnny Ganache list. Number 5, we got Booster Gold. Then Jonah Hex, John Constantine, Batman, and Swamp Thing. Our super special guest, Mark, has Metal Men, Doom Patrol, Etrigan, Batman, and Swamp Thing. And then Sir
You
John,
copycat motherfucker.
Sir John has Swamp Thing, the original Green Lantern, the Sandman, the Golden Age Sandman, Wesley Dodds, John Constantine, and then Cliff Steele's Robot Man.
All right, so we have a couple of listener.
Blows me away.
We have a couple of listener lists here that we're going to read off real quick. We're not really get too far into it, but want to make sure that they get their say as well. Remember, at Pint Comics here, you always have your say. So let's see. First of all, we're going to go with Stu, our buddy Stu from Ghost of the Stratosphere, another great podcast that we're pretty friendly with. If you want to check them out, go to gotstratosphere.com. New shows every week, and they put out a lot of really good content on their website. So for Heroes, and Stu is just like as indecisive as John is with his number 5, except he just puts all 4 of them on number 5. So number 5. He really couldn't pick out of these, so he said it's a tie between some characters that were from Teen Titans Young Justice, Impulse, Superboy, Tim Drake, and Cassie Sandsmark. So I think Cassie Sandsmark, I think, is Wonder Girl. Tim Drake, Robin.
That's the John Byrne version of Wonder Girl.
Superboy is Connor Kent. I think he was a clone, right? Clone of Clark and Lex Luthor. Yep. And Impulse is
Con-El,
right? Is Bart Allen.
That was Con Air.
Don't touch the bunny. That's a Con Air joke. Number 4. Here's someone that none of us said, and not surprisingly, but Superman.
I didn't on principle alone.
White bread.
Number 3, he is white bread. Number 3, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. Number 2, Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern. Yeah. So the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern.
Never.
And number 1 is the one that I threw off my list, the Wally West Flash. So good choice for number 1 for sure. He has a villain list. We'll read it off in the next episode.
Wally West Flash and not Wally West Kid Flash?
He specified Flash.
All right, whatever.
I think he's a big fan, if I remember correctly from listening to their show, of the Jeff Johns run, which was that was good.
Wow.
Do you
disappointment over there?
Stu is a big fan of the show. He listens.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Wally West, when he became the Flash, was great because you had Mike Barron writing it, and then after Mike Barron, who was it?
Mark Waid for a long time.
No,
right?
but even before Mark Waid. There was a run there.
Charlie Hamdinger. I don't know.
I can't remember now. Regardless,
Digger.
Jeff Johns' version of anything.
Johnny Moontaco
for the Flash. is just about as bad as Dan Didio spewing his lunch on your table.
All right, I got 2 more here. Let's do these 2 more.
That's my opinion, and you can have it.
a couple weeks, I will take it. I will file it and I will put it away. A couple weeks ago, we got to do an awesome live event at BoomTube Comics up in Southington, Connecticut.
That was live. That was awesome.
1475 Meriden Waterway Turnpike,
That's
I think was the actual address.
I think you got it right.
Said it 17 times that day. You can check them out at www.boomtubecomics.com. The owner, Dan, who is a huge comic fan, obviously, and a huge DC fan in particular, gave us his list as well. So we're going to start at number 5. Number 5 for Dan from BoomTube Comics is Dr. Fate.
Really? Okay.
Dr. Fate. Number 4, don't get mad, Mark, it's Swamp Thing. All right. Number 3, and he specified this, Flash, but the Barry Allen version.
Okay.
Number 2, he put Shazam, a.k.a. the real Captain Marvel.
The real Captain Marvel.
So I had it put here as Captain Marvel because I honestly can't stand calling that character Shazam.
I agree.
And number 1, this is one you don't hear a lot, and this is before the movie, Aquaman. If you remember that day, he talked about Aquaman quite a bit.
He was a big Aquaman
fan. Also,
you do find him.
Louis Perry from the Angry Geek Show is a huge fucking Aquaman fan. Big Aquaman fan.
Yeah, he walks around in green underwear all the time.
Oof. On his riding his seahorse.
Not something I needed to know.
And
thank you.
The last list we have, if you remember that day, there was a couple of guys that hung out all day with us. There was a guy named Clay, and there was a guy named Ray. Ray was the guy who had Dr. Chopper.
You can call me Clay, or you can call me Ray.
And I contacted Ray. I contacted Ray. Ray was the one that was hanging out with Dr. Chopper, having some work done.
No one's going to get that.
Here are his
Dr. Chopper.
Dr. Chopper.
Dr. Chopper.
Dr. Chopper. Check him out on Facebook. He is a guy.
He's great.
Does some awesome work with comic books, making art out of them.
He should go to BingCon.
He should. You know what? Let's get that set up.
Get that set up.
Let's get that set up.
Oh,
okay.
wow. Yeah.
So let's go through Ray's list and get the fuck out of here. Number 5, again, The Great White Hope, Superman. Number 4, and I'm only assuming that it's the Ted Kord version because of his number 3. Number 4 is Blue Beetle. Number 3 is Booster Gold, so that's why I'm assuming it's the Ted Kord version. If it's not, maybe it's, who was the original? Dan
Garrett.
Dan Garrett, and or maybe Jaime Reyes.
Doubtful.
I don't know. I like that first series. I liked.
That depends on who writes it.
Number 2, The Flash. He did not put who, so we'll just assume it's one of the
Barry.
Barry. And number 1, Batman. Batman. All right, so I just wanted to read that off.
All right. Do you want to do one more list?
You want to do yours?
Not a lot of chicks
my
on
quick
our
list?
list. Not a lot of chicks on our list.
No.
Was there any?
And I was gonna say by
other than in a
one
team?
Batgirl.
one
Oh,
Batgirl.
Batgirl.
Yeah,
and your
I
Doom Patrol.
I had Platinum and I had Rita Farr. Yeah.
Right.
all right. Let's get Lloyd's list in here real quick.
All right, so my number 5, and remember, I'm not steeped in DC,
Right.
But I have read a lot of Vertigo.
You're not like old man Masztal
right,
here.
exactly. So my number 5 actually is John Constantine.
Okay.
My number 4 is Batman. Okay, here's where it gets good. My number 3 is Tulip.
Tulip.
From Preacher.
From Preacher.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
My my number 2.
You gotta love how John makes you feel so good about things.
My number 2 is Jesse Custer, and my number 1 is Swamp Thing.
All right. Swamp Thing wins the
There
night.
you go. He was
Ding,
on
ding,
everyone's
ding,
list.
ding,
Well,
ding,
all of
ding,
our
ding.
lists.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, Swamp
All
Thing
four.
wins the night for sure. So, Superman loses, Swamp Thing wins. Lloyd,
That's it.
how do you get us out of Pint of Comics?
You want me to say it? Well, do we want to say where we can find Mark?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. I forgot. I'm sorry. Mark, where can people find
Instagram,
you on any of that stuff?
Facebook, Twitter.
Website?
I'm on Facebook. Last name is Masztal. You can search me out there. You can also look me up on www.mastel.com/I am nomad.
I am
Oh,
nomad.
nice.
Or just get rid of the I am nomad. You can see a whole bunch of my advertising, artwork, and stuff like that.
You got to say the words
All
to
right,
make
wait,
it.
one more thing.
Yeah.
See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over. Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.